Okay. So we are on page 50. Captive of the mind. So this particular section, or this particular chapter, is called Born in Captivity. Right? So what it's describing is the various ways in which human life is limited. Right? So the purpose of this philosophy is to bring us back to our inherent nature, which is freedom. You know, the analogy that we've often used is, if you look at the physical body, whatever you do to the physical body, it always takes itself in the direction of health. You know, you have too much to drink, you cut yourself, whatever it happens, the body goes back to that direction of health. So you could say then that health is the natural state of the physical body. It's its natural state, always trying to get back there. Even as we get older, our capacity to heal and fight off disease gets less and less and less until at some point we succumb and we die. But even at that point, the body's still trying to do the same thing, which is get back to health. It never says, no, I'm shutting down now, and turns everything off. It's still trying. It just fails because it doesn't have the capacity. And so in the same way, we can say that the natural state of the subjective experience is freedom. That being the case, then we need to understand what are the limitations on our freedom. What are the things that keep us captive? Right? And so he was going through a number of those in the beginning of this chapter, and he continues with captive of the mind. He says, your vastness manifest as your mind and intellect, and your personality is a faithful expression of your vastness, your mind and intellect, your emotions and thoughts. Vastness form the seed that produces the mind and its emotions, the intellect and its thoughts. And the personality is, in effect, a portrayal of the mind and intellect. If your mind is kind and benevolent, you would be kind and benevolent. If your mind is cruel and destructive, so would you be. Similarly, if your intellect entertains communist thoughts and ideas, you'd be a communist. And if your intellect is replete with capitalist ideas, you become a capitalist. Okay, so this is then a description of the personality. When we talk about what a person's personality is, we're talking about their mind and intellect. What's he like? What's she like? Those qualities and properties, he's lovely, very nice fellow. Or he's very kind of rude and arrogant, and he's straight down there, he's a straight shooter. He's a smart guy, he knows what he's talking about. Whatever we describe, we're describing the mind and intellect when it comes to the personality. So the personality then is an effect. It's an effect of something else, and he's using this word here, vasanas. So the word vasanas, the Sanskrit root of the word vasanas is vas, which means scent, smell, fragrance. So each person has their own particular fragrance, they've got their own particular quality to them, to themselves, to their personality. So the vasanas then is the seed. He uses this term here. In fact, the term vasanas also can be described as seed body. So you put a seed in the ground, it sprouts, it grows, it becomes a plant. The quality and the nature of that plant will be determined by whatever seed it was. You don't put an apple seed in the ground and get a mango tree. Right? In the same way, the personality that we express is the tree. The cause of that is the vasanas. Right? So what he's doing in this paragraph is sort of giving the etiology of your own mind and intellect. How does it arise? Right, so it arises from the vasanas. And so this is why he, elsewhere in one of the other texts, he says the vasanas are the unmanifest, the dormant tendencies of the personality, which become manifest, which have rise or give rise to particular expressions of who and what you are. Now he goes on to just sort of describe here that whatever your mind and intellect is, that's what it is. You can't be anything other than what you are. If you are, he talks about here, kind and benevolent. If that's the nature of your mind, because that's the nature of your vasanas, then that's the personality that you're stuck in, as it were. The mold has been cast, has been poured in and cracked. That's what's come out. That's the nature of your mind and intellect, according to that. And so in that sense, we're captive to our own personalities. We can't be what we are not. Continues. There is also a general tendency to fall a prey to one's likes and dislikes. Your mind is full of likes and dislikes which you have collected from early childhood. With the lack of development of the intellect, you follow in the wake of your mind. You do what you like and avoid what you dislike. Both your indiscriminate pursuit of likes and discard of dislikes prove detrimental to your well-being towards the end. Thus you become a captive of your mind and suffer the consequences. To get out of this victimization, you need to develop the intellect. A strong intellect alone can circumvent the influence of the mind's attractions and repulsions and guide you towards a progressive and peaceful path in life. Okay, so the nature of the mind has these different aspects. Right? One of them is likes and dislikes. Nothing per se wrong with likes and dislikes. I like rice, I don't like bread. I like cold weather, I don't like hot weather. There's nothing right or wrong about that. I like dogs, I don't like cats. It's just the nature of your own mind. As he says, these are the vasanas, this is the caste that's being created. So having likes and dislikes is not a problem. The problem is when we function on likes and dislikes. And this is what he's describing here. When we have an impulse, as a reaction to a particular environment, some sort of stimulus, what we tend to do is go with that. The problem is that the thing that we like and the thing that we dislike bear no necessary connection to what's actually in our best interests. But the problem is that because we lack an intellect, or we lack intellectual development, whatever the mind throws up, we tend to believe what it's telling us, in a sense. So we conflate what we like with what is good. We conflate what we dislike with what is bad. I don't like it. You see this in young children. If they have an immediate sort of intuitive reaction, I don't like it, you can see that they think it's bad. It's bad, I don't want it. Now, the exact same thing is happening in us as adults. The difference is that we don't have that same sort of visceral expression of it. We're a bit more socially mature than that, if not intellectually mature. We don't react in the same way externally. But internally the same thing is happening. I don't like it, therefore I reject it. I like it, therefore I take it. It's good. It's inherently good because I like it. This is a little bit like this quote by George Bernard Shaw. I think it's George Bernard Shaw. He says, patriotism is the conviction that my country is the best because I was born in it. Basically, that's what it is. I like my country, and so it's the greatest country in the world. So it's this idea of what we like, we immediately conflate as being good. So the effect of this is obvious. You can think up any one of 100 examples where the thing that we like is not the thing that is in our best interests, and the thing that we dislike is in our best interests. So the job of the intellect is to question. That's its basic function. So when the reaction to the external environment comes up, I like it. Fine. There's no problem with liking something. The problem is not whether you like it or not. The problem is whether or not you connect to that like and then use it as the propulsion to act. This is it's quite interesting because you talk to people who are sort of on this path or someone on paths of self-development, and there is a deep frustration with the fact that they have certain tendencies. I like gambling. Just stick with an example. I want to be a good human being. I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. And here I go wasting my money on gambling. But the problem is that part of the problem is that they condemn the liking per se. I'm such a bad person for liking gambling. Well, okay, you like gambling, big deal. That's not the issue. The issue is that you allow the like to determine your actions thereafter. If you like it, you like it. There's nothing you can do about that. Actually, over time, there is something you can do about that. But in the short term, there's nothing you can do about it. You're captive of your mind. If you like gambling today, if you're an inveterate gambler, you can't expect in one day, in 1 month, in 1 year to not like gambling anymore. But what we can do is implement ways of disconnecting from likes and dislikes. So this is what we need to do, is to disconnect. Now, disconnecting does not mean suppressing. Right? We're not trying to run away from our experiences. It just means that we're mature enough to not let them guide us. Okay, I like gambling, but I'm not going to do it. And there's different ways and means of ensuring that when we do that, we don't become frustrated. But basically speaking, this is the job of the intellect, is to question what is the reaction going on within me? What's the trigger? What's going on out there? I've just come across, World Series of Poker on TV. I'm just flicking through the channels, and there it is. $1 million, Vegas. That was a stimulus. Receipt of stimulus. Reaction within their personality. The reaction is, it jumps on my like, and bang, there is the reaction, gambling. That thrill. Now what? That's the question. That's the trigger. This is the reaction. If we can question, what am I experiencing? Why am I experiencing it? What's the quality and the nature of it? What's it asking me to do? Why would I? Why wouldn't I? What's the good? What would be a reason to do it? What would be a reason not to do it? When would it be appropriate? When would it not be appropriate? You start to view the situation from a perspective that is outside of the like or dislike. The problem is that we view the situation from within the like or dislike. So we're in its bubble, and it gets filtered through the lens of our like, and comes out as it's good. The way to manage the like or dislike is to view it from outside of that perspective. The mind cannot get itself out of its own perspective. That's the job of the intellect. And it's done, again, by observation, by questioning, and by reasoning. That's how we shift gears out of mind and into intellect. So it's a rising above the mind, not a squashing down of the mind.